What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We've got more impending Seattle Seahawks free agents to take a look at here. Once again, I want to remind people I'm going to be streaming on the Bleacher Report tonight at 6. Please download the mobile app and make an account so you're ready. Link is in the community tab, and I'll be posting it in the community tab again right before I go live. So that's how you're going to access the show. And once you're following me over there, you should be able to get notified every time I go live, but that's going to be an important part of the content this year, so definitely get over there. And streaming with the Hawks Nest tomorrow at noon. As always, I believe we will be talking about the new offensive coordinator hire. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right in with our next impending free agent. This one going to be a little less interesting than some of the others in all likelihood, but understand that a lot of our impending free agents are not super compelling. Kayvon Wallace. Kayvon Wallace signed for a 1-year, $1.5 million contract in the offseason. And I mean, we got what we paid for, I guess, but that's in this case, that's not really a positive thing. Kayvon Wallace was a 4th-round pick of the Philadelphia Eagles back in 2020, and he was kind of a reserve part-time player for them for a few years. Then he had his breakout year across 2 different teams in 2023. Played in all games for the Cardinals and the Titans, had 89 total tackles, looked like at the very least a capable, I don't know if I want to say starting safety, but a safety that could play in this league a pretty good amount. And it seemed like maybe he was headed towards the next step up, but he fell through the cracks. Fell through the cracks and ended up in Seattle on a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. Only played in 9 games because he got hurt and didn't start in any games. 15 tackles on the season. Very, very little impact. The best play he made all season was probably in week 1 against Denver on the fumble on, I can't remember which running back it was, but it was one of the Denver running backs. And after that, he was kind of a ghost. Now, he does play on special teams a pretty decent amount. When he was healthy, he played in over half the snaps on special teams, and when he was at Philly, he was routinely playing a lot on special teams. So you look at Pro Football Focus, his breakout year was pretty good according to them, 68.1. They liked what they saw, but for us this last year, they didn't think he did anything. Like this isn't even a matter of, oh, he played a lot, so it brought down the efficiency. He barely played. He barely did anything, and he was still graded as one of the worst safeties in football. And as for special teams, if you look at the last couple years, I mean, it's pretty good. He got graded really high on special teams in 2023, but you wouldn't exactly call him some super standout ace, now would you? And maybe this is going to be a little bit of a saving grace for him because he did get graded out decently for us when he played. And we have to remember he was battling through injuries, and that didn't help him trying to contribute here. And he did have a couple of really nice special team seasons earlier in his career, but there isn't really a lot for him to hang his hat on right now, right? This is just a backup safety on a team that has Julian Love on a long-term deal, that has Kobe Bryant with 1 more year left on his rookie deal, and also has a coach who is known as a little bit of a safety whisperer. So you put all that together, and it's like, well, what are we really going to do with a guy like a Kayvon Wallace? We gave him $1.5 million, and he barely lived up to it. And by some definition, you could just look at that and say, hey, minimum, or get out of here. 1 year, whatever the minimum is for a guy of this experience, like 1.1, 1.2 million, and maybe we don't even do that. But let's take a look at some stuff here while we're trying to figure this out. So you look at contracts sorted by average annual value for safeties. Obviously, he's not getting paid anywhere near the top, so we're just going to scroll for a little bit. We're going to keep going and keep going and keep going. And eventually here, we're going to get to the first guy I want to take a look at here when trying to figure all this stuff out. It is Jonathan Owens. I would not even start the conversation until we get to Jonathan Owens. I think this is the guy who's dating Simone Biles. Last season, he signed a 2-year, 4.75 million, so $4.75 million contract. So 2.4 million a year approximately across 2 years. At 28, Kayvon Wallace is 27 right now, so we have a decent comparison. But you take a look at Jonathan Owens' stats leading up to that extension. He was kind of like Kayvon the first few years. He really didn't play that much at all. 2021 started to play a little bit, and then he became a starter in 2022, 125 tackles. 2023, he went to the Packers, started most of the season, played in every game. So he kind of had two big breakout years, and then he signed with the Bears on that contract, the 2.4 million per year contract. So there's more going on here than with Kayvon Wallace. By the way, he played in all 17 games in both of the 2 years leading up to this contract. Now, if you go over to Pro Football Focus, they did not like Jonathan Owens very much at all. They graded him very poorly, even in his big breakout 125 tackle season. And then the next year, they graded him better, but still not even average for a safety, right? They still thought he was nothing special. But it's still more prolific than anything Kayvon did. And you want to talk about special teams, his special teams performances were pretty decent as well. So there's no real advantage for Kayvon Wallace when you're making the comp. I mean, 2023, his contract year before he signed this current deal, he had 9 special teams tackles, 68.4 grade. I mean, that's going to help. And Kayvon doesn't have that right now. He didn't do a lot on special teams this last year. Okay, so we're not there yet, clearly. So let's keep going past Jonathan Owens. Let's take a look at Daniel Thomas, who signed a 2-year, $4 million deal with the Jaguars last offseason at 25 years old. So a little bit younger, but we're in the ballpark here. And there are a couple of guys that you could, Chuck Clark signed a 1-year, $2 million deal. So he's probably in a similar boat as well. But just looking at Daniel Thomas to get an idea of what we're talking about here, this is a guy who was very much a minimally used player over the first 4 years of his career, had 4 total starts, 2 passes defensed in 4 seasons. Those third and fourth years in the league, he was basically a non-factor, basically had no real impact in the league. So he doesn't have the breakout year of Kayvon Wallace, and I put breakout year in quotations. But I will say this, Pro Football Focus, they didn't really like the last year, 2022 that much, or the 2023 that much. But the special team stuff stands out probably a little bit more than what you're getting from Kayvon at this moment. His contract year, 2023, Thomas had a 74.8 rating and 7 special teams tackles. Kayvon Wallace doesn't have that. So we're probably getting kind of close here in terms of a comp. But again, we're at $2 million a year, and we've got a guy who honestly right now is probably on the same level, right? It's not like he goes out there and plays really badly. He just doesn't really play. He doesn't get the opportunity to do anything. And at the end of the day, what's he going to be able to really accomplish here other than what he grinds out on special teams? And the fact that he's healthy and able to play basically a full season is going to get him a little bit more money, I think. So let's keep going past Daniel Thomas, and let's take a look at Elijah Campbell, who last offseason at 28 years old got basically the same deal that Kayvon Wallace got, 1 year, 1.5. So you can see him and Kayvon Wallace right next to each other. Elijah Campbell, I mean, Miami Dolphin, by the way, who spent his rookie year with the Jets. Again, he's another guy who doesn't really play, doesn't really start any games, never really had that breakout season. And you look at, Pro Football Focus, they like him, but it's such a small sample size, it barely matters. And they liked him less in 2023. Not that any of this stuff really counts for much. And his special teams grades are decent, kind of like Kayvon Wallace, but he's not a standout. So we might have gotten to that point approximately where Elijah Campbell, you're looking at that, you're looking at the fact that Kayvon Wallace was here last year, you're doing the math, you're putting it all together, and it seems like this is probably about what we're talking about. It seems like this 1 year, $1.5 million contract is probably what you're looking at. Maybe there's a little bit of a bump because the cap goes up to 1.6. But at the same time, a player like Kayvon Wallace, who got hurt and missed the entire second half of the season, that is easily a guy who slips through the cracks and ends up lucky to get the veteran minimum. That is easily a guy who ends up not even starting the season on a roster. So, objectively speaking, I'd say 1 year, 1.6 million. I would not do that. And I don't even know if I do the veteran minimum. I think I can get something similar out of an undrafted rookie free agent. and I can have Kayvon Wallace probably available in free agency after the season starts, and I can sign him if I feel like I need him later. He knows the defense a little bit because he was here last year. We can just have him chilling out until we give him a call. So I'm saying probably not. I'm saying I think that even for the veteran minimum, I don't need to guarantee him his contract when week 1 starts. I can sign him after and then have some flexibility to only have him for maybe a few weeks and not be risking a lot in the event of him just not being able to do anything. So I'm going to say Kayvon Wallace slips through the cracks here and ends up lucky to get vet min and quite possibly ends up just kind of sitting on the bench waiting. All right. That's how I'm playing it. Not bringing him back yet. We'll talk in September. We'll talk after week 1 if we need another safety. And there should be opportunities to add safety talent to this team this offseason that's better and more appealing and more exciting. All right. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Remember, Bleacher Report, check it out. See you guys later. Go Hawks.